Now, in today's video, I have experiences using the probe lens on all three cameras, and here is my review. So the question that I have is, can I actually utilize the crop sensor cameras on a LAOWA probe lens? Or should I stick with full frame the whole time? So there are a lot of examples why you want to use this crop sensor camera, because this technically more specced out. I can shoot at 120 frames per second at 1080p. That is a great option, especially when you're using a probe macro lens to get shots like these. Now you can't get shots like this at 1080p 60 frames per second. Best you go for a high frame rate. So the first difference that we first have is the wider field of view. So this macro lens surprisingly acts like a huge, basically like a 16 to 35 up into your face. That kind of effect that it has onto your image. It basically is a macro lens and is super wide. So when you try to probe in, you basically have a very fisheye-ish kind of look, but not too fisheye. You know what I mean? It's unique. Okay, it's a pretty novelty lens uniqueness that you get out from the probe lens. If you have it on a full frame, you have that effect. You have that kind of fisheye look as you're going in. If you have it on a crop sensor camera, you actually eliminate that field of view. Thus, your field of view will look like a normal macro shot. In fact, if I had the 135mm f2 macro lens, I would love to compare that on a full frame versus this LAOWA on a crop sensor, because it pretty much looks the same to me, to my eyes. So the main advantage of using full frame is that you get the wider field of view, and the second advantage is you get shallow depth of field. So having at f14 and having full frame lens, I've noticed right off the bat, I'm getting things out of focus in the background and the foreground. Now there is a quick way to bypass this when using the probe lens on the EOS R series camera. You must come into this section here. Under this section, click onto release shutter without lens and click enable. This will enable your EOS R series cameras to record on third-party lenses. One of the biggest drawbacks from using a crop sensor camera is that the lens cannot operate at its most optimum functions. Because the lens is a manual focus lens, you basically can play around with the manual focus ring however you wish, focusing to infinity or focusing to the minimum focus distance. But if you're using a crop sensor camera, you are missing out a lot of real estate from what a full frame camera can do. So with that in mind, I can't advise people to be using crop sensor when using with the LAOWA probe lens. I highly encourage people to be looking into full frame setups, and perhaps an even more expensive ones that can shoot 240 frames per second, 120 frames per second at 4K, or have a better low light control. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up for this episode. I hope you've learned something about the probe lens and Canon EOS R systems in harmony to that of a third-party LAOWA lens. Alright, thank you so much for watching. If you want to support this channel, there are certain stock footage that I upload onto Pond5, and these are footages which you can purchase right off and put into your passion project or commercial projects. If not, you can pretty much comment down below on what you think on the next video should be about for these kind of systems. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Rodric, and I'll catch you in the next episode.